Hey y'all, Wiggle here. Good morning. Wednesday, the end of June. So just updating you, it's been a while. The summer heat definitely here. It's definitely been affecting productivity. Got a lot of things going on. So here's the tomatoes and peppers that I got in really late. And over there is the Three Sisters. Over there is the potato patch that we got a lot of the tall stuff out of. Out front is just that wild patch, Comfrey and black locust, Osage orange. That was the main target species in there, but I put in peas and sunflowers and garlic bulbils in there, and we'll see how any of that does. That's obviously a super dry patch there to the right. So very poor soil. It's just only getting rainfall, not retaining any moisture, so it's not doing well. This over here is a little closer to the ditch in the front by the road, and it is retaining more moisture and doing better. So this is an update on all that. So here's my hay. I got a good deal on some decent hay. No people poop. 4x5s, a little small, but we've got a little bit of branches and brambles in it and stuff. But $30 a bale. 100 bales. Good deal. Definitely needed something that changed. Now I have grazed this little comfrey, and it's mostly comfrey and then a line of trees in there. I let the cows in, they cleaned it up. Been working on the other garden here and there when the shade hits over there. And this patch right through the middle here, it is at the very top of the ridge here. There was no potatoes. They didn't even come up. So I don't know what the rest of that's going to look like. I got a box full of potatoes out of that little area. But the compost has come along nicely. It's just super dry. Really not a great place for a garden. It's just too dry. But I'm just putting the fertility in play, and it's basically compost pile just sitting there. So as I'm letting it age out, I spread it out where it will actually get the air and water and get the aerobic activity that starts making good soil. In the meantime, these weeds have gotten in here. Look at that lance quarter, it's over 6 feet tall. Good food there. But I'm getting to get in there with the shade, and I just work a little bit at a time, and then I yank all the weeds and feed them to the cows. And we'll see where we do have potatoes. Not the whole patch is shot, but a lot of the patch is just not where you'd like to see it. That's okay, we'll work with what we have. Could have been a bad batch of potatoes, so I'm not sure, but a lot of this is just straight weeds. Half tempted to just let the cows in there and to do the work for me. Might do that. So I'm working on some electric fencing around the hay, because I need to let the cows in the front kind of graze down the spiny amaranth and everything around it. I have to mow it, so I'm going to let them graze it first, and then on and off, whatever's left, I'm going to start mowing, weed eating. Before I can let them in the front to work on that spiny amaranth, they will take the tips off. I got to get some electric around that hay, and I have my little loader, wheel loader, and I loaded up all my posts, and I'll show you that stuff. But the starter's bad, so I'm going to go put a starter on that. Now here's the old Harbor Freight sawmill. I've been cutting this red oak, old, aged red oak log, and it is just torn things up. So while I'm at it, I was thinking of, well, it's not loose anymore. I ordered these belts. I don't need them yet, but my blade is turning black here, so I know my drive wheels drive belt that goes around the outside wheel is a little burned up. And this belt is not looking great. But I ordered them, make sure they fit. But right now I'm just going to change out these bearings. Make sure they're the right size and all. I got the information from a forum rather than ordering from Harbor Freight, which you got to get on the phone and wait forever. Well, I'd say that's pretty close. I don't know what the rest of it looked like. These wheels are not actually supposed to touch the blade, but I've been pushing so hard to get through that red oak that it just blasted out these bearings. These are original bearings that have been sitting on this thing for a couple of years, so I'm going to change those out, let you know how they work. That way I can get going on a different project. So what I'm going to show you in a little bit is I'm working on changing the starter on my loader, my case loader. Then I'm going to put the electric around my hay, and then I'm going to continue with the deep freezer. It's going off-grid, making it into an ice house. The refrigeration will be the ice blocks. Now I also have a air conditioner I'm going to run this time of year. As soon as I can get and hold my 35-degree temperature, I'm going to go ahead and slaughter a cow on my own here. But first of all, I got to get the temperature. So I will show you what that looks like when I get to it later on. So I will keep you updated. I'm going to try to put these bearings on and see if I can get this thing back in action, because I definitely need some lumber to work on my freezer. So this is wiggle out for now. So I finished the cut, and I can see that the blade is pushing against that bearing. It is not supposed to be pushing that hard against the bearing. That, coupled with a black blade, tells me that my wheel, the friction belt that goes around that wheel that the blade pulls against, I think it must be too worn out. It's letting the blade push back too far. It's not supposed to be pushing against the bearings that hard. So I think a new belt will keep the blade from pushing back so far and wearing out the bearing. So live and learn. This is the first time I've had to deal with that. So keeping the old Harbor Freight China-made Chinesium thing working. Also, my water bottle went totally rotted out in the sun. So I have this just water bottle with a nylon fitting on the bottom. And I tell you, that trick there is to get a compression fitting off of this, you know, like under the sink where you have the little stop valves, the 3/8 compression nuts. A lot of times you just take those things off because you don't need them. Well, those things fit perfectly on those 1/4-inch nylon fittings. The 1/4-inch pipe thread is actually kind of hard to find a nut, even if you go try to buy them. So I just used an O-ring, 1/4-inch O-ring, 1/4-inch nylon fitting with the male, and then I put it through there. And if you can kind of see, it's got that chrome nut on there from regular old plumbing. That's the only thing I could find. It's really hard, like I said, to get what you need. But anyway, that's how I made my own bottle. Cut a hole in the top so it would breathe, and also I could just dump water in there. So it was a cheap replacement for, let me show you, that. This is what's left of the original equipment. Totally worthless. So, and I have a number of those water bottles from my road trip, so I'm going to keep them handy. If that one dries out, I'll replace it. Same cap, just change the bottle. But I think that bottle's actually pretty good. I think it'll last a little while. So there's my new blades, new belts. When I go to cut again, I will change them out, hopefully to save that bearing from getting blown out again. So that old, that red oak, here's the other piece of it right here. This is what it looks like. Well, that's a pretty nice sized log there. I may try to get some out of it, but I noticed that the lumber is got a lot of cracks and the structural failures in it. It's not great lumber. I mean, I guess you wouldn't expect it to be. So I got a lot of maple and some red oak. These old logs I got from the neighbor. But I'm just kind of cutting everything I've got, if it's got anything in it at all, to just get it out of the way. I burned through the one blade on that red oak. But I did get some pretty nice spalted maple. And some of it's got like the green in it. It's really cool looking. Of course, this is not stacked well. It's starting to warp up on me. I'm going to make some pieces to hold it, to stack it on. But you can see it's got a pretty interesting grain in there. If I could show you the ones that have like green heartwood to them, that's pretty neat. I know this stuff looks pretty worthless, but I'm just going to dry it out and get what I can out of it. There's that red oak, and you can just see it's not real great. It's got checks running all the way through it. It's a hard time getting much lumber out of it, and it's got a cross, kind of a diagonal grain to it. It's not helping it either. It'll be firewood if anything. Just doing what I can, what I got there, just get it out of the way and move on. There's some more of that maple. That old maple sure comes out pretty cool looking. There's some of that, not as green as it was, but got some green colored heartwood in it. Anyway, I'll cut some little sticks and get that thing stuck up, so it won't warp up so much when it's drying. Nobody wants that warp lumber, and it molds if you don't have air through it. So, anyway, I'm going to take these tools and go put my starter on the case. So I'll show you that when I get there. Then I will bring my homemade electrical poles over here, and I'll show you how I did that. Pretty good, really. I kind of like it. Now over there in that little shed by the road, which is supposed to be a produce stand, the charger's in there. So I'll just plug it in. It's not solar, it's on grid. I don't use electric that much, so I haven't really tried to get on grid with electric fence or off grid. But I will. Not that needful. I just need them to come and eat. And they've already been out here. That's not very long ago, so there's not much here. But still yet. See all this spiny amaranth garbage. Especially around the back, I'll show you. They're chickens. Out here in the shade. Smart birds. It's not nice out. So here is, you see how I got grass in there? I don't want to I'm going to mow it. I just don't want to mow all the grass down. I'll let them get out here and get what they can out of it. And then I'll mow all this early when it's cool. First light, get out here and mow a little here, a little there. I get too excited. Just try to get that spiny amaranth under control. I had to weed the spiny amaranth on this path here. Nasty stuff. But it does show you're getting fertility. But it's a pain to have to manage it because the grazer's got too many spines in it, they don't eat it. So I'm trying to, it's easier to mow than to weed eat. I don't use a riding mower, I just use a push mower. So I used to do it all by hand, but I finally allowed myself to use some gas equipment. Here's some of that stuff from the garden that I fed the cows, lambs, quarter, so forth. So anyway, I'm going to go walk out to the loader out there and start putting a new starter on.